So welcome back. Today we're going to continue with the story of the power of forgiveness. Last week we kind of gave you an overview. We talked a little bit about the biblical definition. We didn't go into a lot of depth in that. We talked about the science version of forgiveness, and we actually jumped into probably one of the great forgiveness stories, right? The prodigal son.
Yes.
Today I know we want to kind of move from that and move a little bit maybe into Luke 23, right? And so
The most powerful man on the face of the earth was the Lord Jesus Christ, and so many leaders ascribe to his teachings, and they'll say he's one of the greatest. He's the greatest. We all know that story. And I think he teaches something on the forgiveness. When he was framed by the people and the government to be almost like a criminal, because that's a criminal death. And I think the Gospel of Luke picks up a beautiful story, and I think there's a powerful message. You want to learn things from powerful people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think Jesus was one of the most powerful men. And he lived on this earth. And he's expecting us to see him, learn from him. And I would learn any day from him.
Right.
But when he was framed for not doing wrong, have you been framed for not doing wrong? Have you been blamed for not doing something that you didn't do and people are saying you did it? Can you imagine the trauma? I mean, I've been framed a few times. Purposefully, the trauma, Bob, it lasts so long. And I think you need to look at the story. The strength comes from looking at this story. That's why I'm reading this to you from Luke 23:32. Two others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him. And they came to the place that is called the skull, where they crucified him, Jesus, and the criminals. He's not a criminal, but with the criminals, okay? One on his right, one to his left. Now you know the word, the very first word he speaks, and Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. I mean, Bob, this is one of the most powerful of Father, looks to God, and I believe when you look and call upon God, you understand the grace and the power of forgiveness, because forgiveness starts from God. Even Jesus looked to God and he said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. I mean, it's obvious they were doing what they were doing. They know what they were doing. If I'm saying it right. You know?
Right. Well, and I think the other piece to that passage that just jumped out at me just now was the moment in which he did that, right? The moment he did it, he was so connected to God. Right? Real forgiveness comes from that moment in which we are really connected. Because I'm sure you've heard it before. I'll never forgive them.
Yeah.
I'll never forgive them. Right? And then you hear the story of someone forgiving them in a powerful way. Ones when we go, I don't know if I could forgive them for that.
Yeah.
And yet you watch it transpire, and it is this beautiful mosaic of love and mercy and grace that come together. And it was because of the connection.
Wow, what a powerful word. Connecting, right?
Right.
I mean, that's why forgiveness on your own, you cannot do it. Forgiveness on your own, you don't have the strength. Forgiveness on your own mind will block you.
Right.
Your feelings will block you. Your surroundings will block you. Your friends will block you, right? Your family will block you. I've been in situations, family jumped and said, how can you do that? How can you forgive? I said, in my own, I know I can't, but I've got to get this power from God. And I think when I look up, and I think Jesus is just giving an example for us to show that the word that you said, connecting to God, receiving that word and saying, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. So many people do what they do, and I honestly think they don't know what they do.
Right, right. How many people just bumble through life, and at some point they hurt other people, but oh well, that's the way it is. But no, we as Christians, we're called to a different standard, right? When we're talking about this moment, this is a defining moment of Christ on the cross. He could have said anything there. It would have been recorded. It was, but in that moment, like you said, this is the thing that he says that we have to pay special attention. Our ears should be burning to the point where we go, oh,
yes,
everyone?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Every time?
Yeah.
In everything?
Yes.
Even if it is every day?
Yes.
It is. It's so hard for us to grasp this principle But I think the reason that we're doing on this series is to remind people that we're going to talk about practicing forgiveness. You know, please, please, please learn and understand. You got to start practicing this. You know, practice makes perfect.
Right.
Practice makes perfect. That's why the pianist, even if they're not playing a concert, they play as if they're playing a concert every day. You know, you talk to some of the key people who are the top line of the musicians, they say, I have to practice every day. I have to keep practicing. They know that. They practice a song, they practice again. They practiced this before, they practice it again. Because I think it's so important for us to learn forgiveness is a practice. It doesn't happen in a moment. Don't try it. Start doing it. Start forgiving. Start learning. Start moving. And you will see the day will come like Jesus. He did not go on the cross and start saying, I'm going to forgive. He started forgiveness long before he came to this scene.
Right.
That is the power of forgiveness. And so I'm hoping and praying that the word, when he said that word, I mean, amazing. There are 6 other things he said on the cross, but this is the number one. I believe when you start dealing with the first issue, the rest will fall in its place.
Yeah. And you know, the Bible provides us such great depth into this. So when we're talking about forgiveness, the biblical definition again is what?
Let go.
Wow.
Release.
Right.
You know, when you do that, everything else will fall in place. I've learned it. I know what I'm saying, my friends. I have people, my friends, who sat with me, who prayed with me, backstab me. I mean, I'm literally saying this. It's not some story that I'm saying. I've seen people do that.
Right.
But when I forgave, the first benefit of forgiveness was I had peace. I could sleep.
Isn't that? And most people don't. I'm going to hang on to this. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to chain yourself
Yes.
to someone else?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's the first thing that we learn is to let go. It's you are forgiven by God.
Mm-hmm.
When you are forgiven by God, you will have the grace to forgive others, and then you'll have the grace to forgive yourselves. That's important.
Right.
To know that whatever you've done in your life, God is not keeping a track of that. Your sin is removed as far as east is from the west, and there is no end to east and to the west. It can go on and on and on. And so God says, I remove those from you. Let it go. Forgive yourself. Some of the people hang. And I think when we come to the story of John chapter 21, which we will talk about it, you will see why Jesus was telling Peter 3 times,
Yeah.
do you love me? Do you love me? And I think this is where we need to know that, God forgives you. God forgives. I messed up my life. God forgives you. Then you learn to forgive yourself. Then you learn to forgive others. It's easy in a way when you understand the power of forgiveness that comes from God. That's what we're saying today, to remind ourselves, forgiveness is the key part.
Yeah. The power of forgiveness. Wow. This has been an incredible first 2 sessions. I'm really looking forward to us continuing this conversation about forgiveness and the power of forgiveness, not only for who we forgive, but also for ourselves and our connection to God above, right?
Yes.
The perfect cross. Looking up to Him gets us the connection. Reaching out to one another gives us the forgiveness. And in that we have grace that fills us for a life of freedom. Wow.
And the next session we will talk about who initiates the forgiveness. The one who is offended, the one who knowingly offended, the one who has been purposefully doing something. Who does this in the scene of anger and frustration and forgiveness that happens in all of our lives? Somebody does something wrong. How do we do that? We'll deal with the science, we'll deal with the Bible, we'll deal with the realities of our own stories.
Awesome. I look forward to jumping back in with you again next week. And so please tune in, and we look forward to hearing from you. You can always listen to more of these podcasts on the Ford Chicago YouTube page. You can find that by going to communitycenter.life, going to the bottom of the page, hitting the YouTube, and all of these will pull up with 80 other pieces of content that are available for you. So thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to next week's video when we talk a little bit more about who initiates